More of the Zach Gelb Show on Fox Sports 920 The Jersey.
All right, welcome back in. Exciting Super Bowl, to say the least, last night. I was at NRG Stadium, just absolutely unbelievable. Houston did an awesome job all week. His time right now in the Princeton Orthopedic Associates studios is 4:31. Anytime you feed the media and give them free beer, they're going to get really positive reviews. But overall, Houston hit it out of the park. A great Super Bowl last night to end a great week in Houston. And now joining us is John McClain, who covers the NFL for the Houston Chronicle, and he's kind enough to hop on board and give us a few minutes right now. John, thanks for a few minutes, and how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm sorry it's over. I know everybody had a good time, and kind of sorry to see everybody leave town.
No, it was absolutely unbelievable. The people of Houston were absolutely great all week long. It was very fun spending 8 nights in Houston. But let's get to the game. Last night, Pats are down 25. No one thinks they're coming back. You've seen a lot of football. How'd the Patriots do it last night, John?
I saw the biggest comeback in history in the playoffs, 35-3. Oilers trailed Buffalo in January of 1993. And I remarked to one of my colleagues, I said, don't forget Buffalo. I do that every time there's a lopsided score. And, nobody ever comes back. And, of course, I didn't expect it. At the Chronicle, we had all our plans mapped for Falcons stories to be to feature the Falcons, and of course we had Patriots too. And even when it was 28-12, I didn't think much about it. But then all of a sudden, when Brady got on a roll, and I thought the two key plays for the Falcons were the 3rd and 1, and they have Matt Ryan pass, he sacked, fumble. They get the ball, that ignited the comeback. And the other one was on that last Atlanta drive. They're in field goal range, and I believe they came out in an empty backfield, and Matt Ryan went to pass again, and he sacked. And then Jake Matthews is called for a hold and they have to punt. So they still punt the ball to the 9-yard line, but Brady took it 91 yards. And the great catch, the incredible catch, and I've seen, this is my 38 Super Bowls, I've seen some incredible catches in the Super Bowl, David Tyree and Santonio Holmes that stand out, Lynn Swann. But the one by Julio Jones, that now is going to be overshadowed. It should have set up the winning touchdown that would have put the Falcons up by 11. But instead, they go for it to tide turn, so does history. And then Julian Edelman's catch off of the leg and the lower leg and foot of Robert Alford was just, it'll go down in history as well. Anytime we have comebacks and great victories, there are going to be tremendous plays and a lot of heroes. But you got to hand it. There are a lot of guys made great plays and played great. But Tom Brady, to engineer that comeback at 39 years old, he wants to play in his 40s. He may play into his 50s. And I think we'd be ashamed if we didn't get to, when time comes that we don't get to see him anymore, it will be our loss.
Number one, John, I think last night just proves he's the best quarterback ever, but I want to hear your opinion not only on the best quarterback ever, but how about the best player to ever play in the National Football League?
That's boy, I thought Jim Brown was for a long time. I thought Johnny Unitas and Joe Montana were the greatest quarterbacks I'd seen, but I already thought that Brady was the greatest, not just because of the winning, but who he's done it with. If you look at the players, Julian Edelman, Chris Hogan, if you look at Danny Amendola, where they get these guys, other teams don't want them. They bring in Martellus Bennett, his 4th team, even though he was a former 2nd-round pick. He makes all of them great. Now, they help make him great. They do things for him and Bill Belichick they didn't do anywhere else. And so I think a strong argument can be made that I've always thought that the greatest player was Jim Brown right behind Jerry Rice and Reggie White, that Tom Brady may be the greatest in history.
We're talking to John McClain of the Houston Chronicle. And, John, you mentioned Coach Belichick. We always know Brady and Belichick are synonymous with their success. You see the way Belichick is able to adapt. This year, and not even looking at it in its entirety, but they lost Gronkowski. Brady was out for the first 4 games. They get rid of Jamie Collins. Chandler Jones was traded in the offseason, and they're down 25 points in the Super Bowl, and somehow they end up winning the game in overtime. His ability to adapt, I've never seen anything like it, John.
I've never seen anything like it either. Bill Belichick, I've thought for a while, is the greatest coach in history, and I'll say this why. And I've seen him going back to 1960 when I was a kid and started following football closely. He's got a salary cap year in and year out. He doesn't know a lot of his players are going to be back or not. I always say, who would Chuck Noll have gotten rid of because of the cap? Swan or Stallworth, Lambert or Ham? They never had to get rid of players like that. You know, in their prime, could Bill Walsh have had Joe Montana and Steve Young? And the answer is no. And what they've done year in and year out, 11-5 without Brady. And then this year, 3-1 without him to start the season. And I remember I was in Foxborough when they beat the Texans 27-0 with Jacoby Brissett, a rookie third-round pick, making the start. And he didn't do much, but he didn't beat them. And that's the thing about the Patriots. They do not beat themselves. And they've shown when they have home field advantage in the playoffs, they're money. And now they're favored for next season, of course. It's funny, them and the University of Alabama, no matter how their season ends, the next year they are automatically going to be favored to win the title.
Yeah, and I saw Belichick say today, hey, we're 5 weeks behind getting ready for the next season, and that's pretty much how Saban does it right after he wins a national championship. And I know we talk a lot about the offense, but the job of this defense, and I remember being in that stadium after the loss to Seattle. I tweeted out there, he has from now until the playoffs to figure out that defense, and some of the guys on this defense, Trey Flowers stands out. Dante Hightower obviously stands out. But then some of these underrated guys that he's just able to bring in, plug and play, like an Eric Rowe, a Patrick Chung, even Kyle Van Noy got a half a sack last night. It just adds on to his legacy, John.
One of the things that Belichick likes is guys who are not selfish, guys who are not me guys. And if they don't work, he'll get rid of them. He's shown that. You know, they tell people, would you like to win a Super Bowl? If you'd like to win a Super Bowl, they take less money to play with the Patriots. And it's hard to argue with anything because if you go there, automatically you're the favorite to win a Super Bowl. And they're measured not by division titles or victories. They're measured on whether they win or not. And the defense, the Falcons had a chance to be the highest-scoring team in history to win a Super Bowl. Right now, it's the 99 Rams. The highest-scoring teams don't win. And I tell you something else. Let's see next year whoever wears white jerseys. White jerseys have won 12 of the last 13. And the other one is this: the team that has allowed the fewest points now. There's been 5 of them in the Super Bowl. Playing the team that scored the most. Team that's allowed the fewest has won 4, and that includes the Patriots. So that defense did a phenomenal job in the second half, especially in the fourth quarter and overtime. So they deserve as much credit almost as Tom Brady.
John McClain with us right now from the Houston Chronicle. John, if you're an Atlanta Falcon fan, I don't know how you wake up because at halftime, that place, it was a frenzy of Atlanta Falcons fans. Everyone was thinking the game was over, especially when you got into the third quarter. We go back to what we were talking about a little bit earlier, the play calling. That sack and that hold was just 2 crucial parts of this game. I still don't understand how Dan Quinn and Kyle Shanahan don't run the ball there, especially when you have Devontae Freeman, who was getting 6.8 yards per carry, 11 carries, 75 yards. How do they not run the football there? I just don't get it.
Nobody gets it. I think the Falcons would say they had them down. They wanted to keep their foot on their throat, bury them, and it backfired. You know, you got to be able to block them when you drop back to pass, and they didn't do it. And Trey Flowers had a great game. I tell you, had a great game. Grady Jarrett, I was an MVP voter, and when the Falcons were up, we were arguing, do we vote for a defensive player that a defense has done a great job against Brady? Do we go with Ryan? Grady Jarrett tied a record with 3. And then all of a sudden that was a moot point. But I feel bad for the Falcons. They're a class act. 0-2 in Super Bowls, incredible talent. Kyle Shanahan's leaving now. So Matt LaFleur, who's on that staff, who was with Shanahan here. I don't know if he's going to get that job or not, but teams that lose the Super Bowl, the last one to go back was the Buffalo Bills. That does not bode well for the Falcons.
John, real quickly before we let you run, because in our market of South Jersey and Philadelphia, people were absolutely livid with the Hall of Fame, and I know that you're on the voting committee. What was your reaction to T.O. not getting into the Hall of Fame?
Well, first of all, there are 48 of us on the committee. 10 people can keep a player out. So 38 people could speak up for him, and 38 could be for him, and only 10 don't. And I'll tell you why. Peter King wrote a great Monday Morning Quarterback today explaining about T.O. T.O.'s got the stats. He'll get in. But I think the committee, it bothers them when they hear stuff about T.O. behind the scenes in the dressing room, on the sideline. But he's got the stats, but I think that's working against him right now. But I tell him, like I tell everybody, be patient. The competition is very, very stiff.
But why should a guy like that, who had almost 16,000 yards, 153 touchdowns, it feels like to me that he shouldn't have to be patient. Like, that guy should have been on the first try. That's what I don't get about this whole thing.
Does it not bother you that he was with 5 teams, got cut by everybody, was suspended twice, and it's been well documented about things he did behind the scenes internally with his teammates? That is taken very seriously compared to other guys who were great teammates and were great players. And I know that's something that's bothered a lot of the committee members. And we had 2 Hall of Famers on our committee this year, Dan Fouts, James Lofton. I hear people blasting the media. We don't know anything. Well, we now have Hall of Famers on our committee. I'm hoping we'll add more. But there's more to it than pure stats to get in Pro Football Hall of Fame. Michael Irvin, I think, was the 3rd ballot. Chris Carter, Marvin Harrison, and T.O. maybe too.
Yeah, he wasn't obviously a choir boy. We all know that. But to me, I think trying to just make him wait to a 3rd year is absolutely ridiculous. But let me ask you one more thing on the Hall of Fame. John Lynch and Brian Dawkins is a big debate. I thought Brian Dawkins was a better player than John Lynch, and I really hate to say something like that just because I think both of them are Hall of Famers, and I also don't like when sometimes people look at the class and they go, well, how the heck did T.O. not get in this year? And Jason Taylor does, because Jason Taylor was an incredible football player, and we shouldn't take away from his day. But in terms of the safety play, Dawkins or Lynch, who would you put in first?
I think both of them are deserving, and I would put in Lynch first. Because Lynch has been out there. He's been a finalist so many years. And I would put in Dawkins after Lynch because of the time element. And I think both of them, I can't say Lynch is going to get in. When you've been a finalist for years, and we have shortchanged safeties. And I guarantee you both those guys cancel each other out because strong arguments were made for both. And I hope eventually they both do. But I think Dawkins will go in before Lynch. But I know this year, after listening to the presentations, debate, I think they just flat canceled each other out, as did the offensive linemen. Opened the door to a guy like Martin Anderson, who I was really surprised. Not that he didn't deserve to get in. He's the greatest non-active kicker. I believe Adam Vinatieri is the greatest in history. But with those other guys canceling each other out, that opened the door for Martin Anderson.
Do you think, though, Dawkins was a better player than Lynch? That's fair to say,
They
right?
were 2 totally different players. We analyzed all that. Everybody in the Philadelphia covered the Eagles, and Eagle fans would say Dawson, the Buccaneers. Broncos would say Lynch. All I'm going to say is they're both great players and both deserve to be in the Hall of Fame.
One more thing with John McClain from the Houston Chronicle, just about this Hall of Fame process. Only 5 modern era candidates are allowed in per year. Do you think that should change? Do you think there should be more?
I think there should be a lot more, but they're not going to do it because we could have 8. And we get, for the longest time, could be 7, and we were blasted constantly by having too many in the Hall of Fame. So we have 2 contributors one year, 1 senior, 2 seniors the next year, 1 contributor. And I think coaches should be in the contributors category because I think they'd have a better chance to get in that way because it's hard to take a coach unless he is just drop dead lock over a player because there's so many great players. I just like to make sure that we have 5 every year. The way the voting process is, there's 15 modern era finalists. We cut it to 10, then to 5, and when it comes to the 5, we vote yes or no, as we do for the contributors and the senior. When it comes to the last 5, I always vote yes. I don't want anybody to be in that final 5 and to be left out.
John, great job out of the people of Houston this week. We appreciate it. Thanks so much for the hospitality, my
friend.
friend.
My pleasure. I'm glad you had a great time, and come back soon.
You got it. Thanks so much. There's John McClain of the Houston Chronicle. All I'll say about the Dawkins-Lynch comparison, and I think it's absolutely ridiculous that they make T.O. wait. Come on. I know T.O. could have been a pain in the ass, and I even told T.O. when I saw him on Friday that it was a joke that he had to wait. Even going back to last year, you look at the stats, the man is one of the best wide receivers after Jerry Rice to ever play the game. But in terms of Dawkins and Lynch, Dawkins, these are his stats: 1,131 career tackles, 26 sacks, 37 interceptions, 28 forced fumbles. Lynch, 1,058 tackles, 13 sacks, 26 picks, and 16 forced fumbles. It's not even close. And Lynch was a really good player. Lynch should be a Hall of Famer. But if you're debating Dawkins or Lynch, it's clear. It's Dawkins to me. 609-919-9200, 447 is the time in the Princeton Orthopedic Associates studios. What we'll do right now is we'll take a quick break. When we get back, we'll play you some of the audio calls from the walk-off in Houston. James White gets the pitch from Brady, and the Patriots are Super Bowl champions.